Just waiting for a few people to come in here. If you're on this replay, just trying to fill up some of that dead air, but sitting out here in, damn, I don't even know where I'm at. I'm at a Sheets. It is daytime, so I know a lot of my people are out there running because they don't like running them nights. Move this down a little bit. Let's see. What's up, Zach? Damn, I'd like to... Oh, you know what? Let me see where I'm at right now. I'm just out here chilling. About to get in some of my embarrassment this morning. Alright, let's see. Any thoughts on the current truck recession? You know what? I personally had a great week last week. And luckily I had one of my other drivers have an excellent week last week, so that made up for one of my trucks that wasn't running last week. So the week that me and one of my drivers had would have been excellent weeks, like in good markets. What's up, no hippie? I'm at the Petro south of Milwaukee. Is that the one that you have to pay to go to? I think that's a pretty nice one. Normally I'm at that Sheets down there. Or not. It's a quick trip down there I'm usually at. In that area, if I'm going to be in that area. What's up, Tim Travels? How you doing? I love working that area, though. That Milwaukee, Minnesota, Illinois, Michigan, Indiana. Like, there are certain times when I get out there in that area, I call it the Matrix, and I just do like 5 or 6 loads that are all like 250, 300 miles that are all in that area. I love that. I'm trying to figure out what truck stop I'm at, but I can't pull up Trucker Path right now. Let me see. All right, I am at the Sheets in Jeffersonville, Ohio. I've done a few videos from this location. Love this place. I was supposed to be picking up a load. I got to go to the terminal right quick to get an oil. I don't need to go to the terminal to get an oil change. I got to go get a physical, all that stuff. So I figured, let me just go somewhere where I could knock it all out at the same time. So I was going to go there and do that. So they had a load for me to pick up. They canceled. So what they ended up doing was having me deadhead up to Livonia, Michigan, pick up a damaged trailer and take that out to Springfield. So I'll probably leave about 2 o'clock in the morning to go do that. I'll be there in about 4 hours, drive out my clock the whole way, and then get the load there like Saturday night, early Sunday morning. Yeah, I've actually never been in that Petro because that quick trip is so close, and I'm always going to take a quick trip. Always. Or is that a quick trip or quick start? Either way. Bro, do you drink beer on a 10-hour reset? You know, I'm really not much of a beer person anyway. But that's something I'm definitely looking forward to, because one of my boys sent me a bottle of bourbon to my house. So that's been waiting patiently on me to get back. Am I at the 49er truck stop in Sacramento? No, I'm in Ohio. I have been to that truck stop, that 49er truck stop. I only go there when it's a necessity, but that's not a bad truck stop. Not a bad truck stop. I forgot where I said I was at. I'm not going to look for it again. I'm in Ohio at a Sheetz, across the road from Flying J. So, you know what? Hold on a second. You probably can't hear me that good. All right. This should be better. So I picked up a load last night in... Damn. Let me take a look. Oh, Greenfield, Indiana. Took that to Cincinnati. So picked it up at 02:30. Dropped it off at 6 o'clock this morning. And... so I've been on a bunch of little, small runs lately. Listen, Maryland to California. Okay, 3 days. Okay, I was about to say, I drove from San Diego to Denver, Colorado. When I moved back to Denver, and that was in 1994, I drove a Suzuki GSXR 750 straight through to Denver, 18 hours or whatever it was, in one shot. I could not walk for like 2 days after I got there. All right, so let's talk about this embarrassment that I went through this morning. So I'm delivering at Kroger, King Supers or whatever. What's up, Kiersey? I'm delivering in what's the name of this place? Blue Ash, Ohio. So let's just call that Cincinnati. It's a Kroger, basically a King Supers. So if I have time, I'll look at the reviews on the place. And they're saying docks are real tight. I keep hearing this. Docks are real tight. And then somebody said, I suggest you move your tandems to the rear so you don't have to worry about trailer swing. You know what? Got it. That's something I would have thought about. So check in at the guard, pull around to the staging area, slide my tandems to the rear. Not all the way to the rear. Maybe about the 10th, 11th hole. I didn't get out and count them. I'm like, I'm good. So they give me a door, and back into the door. One shot, no pull up, no nothing. It would have been perfect. And then, you know, I need to open my doors. Well, I had these in front of my door. They had these 4 yellow poles in front of it. I didn't really think about that. Pulled up like I was going to open my doors. Didn't have enough room to open up my doors, right? So now I have to pull back out to the left, open up my doors so I can back in. Man, that messed my setup up so bad. It took me like 3 times to get in there after that. And I mean, to me, I don't know if anybody was watching, but it felt like the entire world was watching me go through this shit. And sometimes it just is what it is. It just, you know, I know I could back, you know, whatever, but I'm just sitting here going through this stuff, and it feels like you're on stage at Broadway and everybody's watching you struggle through this shit. And it's like, I hope they saw me get in here the first time. That's what's going on in your head. But what's up, Newcastle, United Kingdom? You a truck driver? Or you just happen to be getting in here watching this? I have seen some truck drivers in England, and boy, there's some tight ass roads out there they got to deal with. Okay, I'm not proud of it. I work with an Indian and European company. They make you drive 24 hours nonstop. I'll tell you what, I was at a truck stop yesterday. This wasn't an Indian person or European person. He was probably Somali or something along those lines, judging the shape of his head. But sometimes people put in the struggle to get what they want. When I look at things that are as bad as, like I was going through a struggle a little bit, and I'm just like, man, I look at this guy over here and he's like, no APU, none of that shit. He's out there with the windows open, he's in his seat, pouring water over his head and doing all this stuff. And I'm like, man, when they say you can't skip the struggle, you cannot skip the struggle. He was definitely putting in that. And I applaud anybody that goes through all that to do this job, because I wouldn't. I'm just telling you. All right, wonderful horseshoe. I'm just out here running my mouth right quick. Leah, what's up? For those of you guys just came in, I was supposed to get a load picking up in Indiana, going out to basically St. Louis. I'm glad I got taken off of that load. I forget, let me tell you where it was. It was picking up in let's see, it was picking up in Reynoldsburg, Ohio. So some of you guys know what that means. Basically going to St. Louis. And it's a load getting me back to Springfield, right? So it was what it was. And I parked at this beautiful Sheets out here, and I got a message from my fleet manager saying, hey, that load canceled. I got to find you something else. So he came up with the plan of me going up to Livonia, Michigan, picking up a non-loadable trailer. Need to go to the trailer shop to take that to Springfield and do that. So I'm parked for the day. I could drive a little bit further, but I'm not in the mood for that. So I'll pick that up tomorrow morning, run it out a little bit, deliver it to Springfield, and then go there and do what I got to do. So that's what I'm doing right now, or will be doing tomorrow. Fleet manager sent out a message saying average weekly solo pay is down $500 on average, so it's going to get worse before it gets better. I'm upgrading in 2 weeks. Pretty discouraging. Thoughts? I haven't seen an issue with the freight yet. And I'm just telling you, personally, my truck has been profitable. Now, I got to worry about 3 more other trucks. So I had one truck that was down for family matters or whatever. I had one truck that had a average respectable week, maybe a little low-ish a little bit. And then I had one that had a banger week. So if I was to look at my average for the last month, I would say that I would put these averages against a year and a half ago. So I don't know. When I look at it, I don't, I have a couple trucks this week that are actually sitting a couple days. So this is maybe a little bit different. One that's picking up on Sunday, and he wanted to go home and see his mom, and I thought, that's a great time to do it, especially when we're down, not doing anything. So he's going to do that. And then I have another one that has a bunch of time on a load. But for the most part, my issue is never or since I've had these trucks going, hasn't been the revenue. It's been the death by 1,000 cuts. Last week I put 4 tires on trucks. 2 tires on one truck, 2 tires on another truck, plus some other shit. You're talking about $5,000, $6,000 between all that. I got a truck that was down for family reasons. You know what? That's costing me a bunch of money right there, just being down. So it's never been the revenue. When all the trucks are running the way they need to run, it hasn't been the revenue. It's been the other shit. So I don't know. I haven't had that issue. I'm stuck in purgatory at this receiver is what Leah said. Hey, take advantage. Get that sleep in. What's up, Parisian King 87? Joshua, go to work for a mini fleet for a while until freight gets better. Kiersey, I'm not even joking around about this. I would think about going and working for a mini fleet right now. Shit. You know, I just got to keep looking at it. That's the thing is COVID did change a bunch of different things and stuff like that. My game plan was very solid with what I had planned, but you know, things kind of changed a little bit. So I need to kind of change my, you know, one thing I do know is you can't skip the struggle. And once you make it through that, the promised land is right there, but just getting there is so hard. Oh yeah, hey Kiersey, I believe you. Being a company driver is much better than people think. Man, I got people telling me, Lyle, I'm gonna need a couple new tires. Like, it ain't no thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like another day. And I'm just like, God damn. And, you know, one of the things about it is that you never really think about. And, you know, I had a driver that had personal issues going on. And then there was something else before that where, you know, they had to, it was like, so the personal shit I understand. Like, if you got to go to a funeral, whatever. But it was something before that, and then there's something coming up. And I'm like, do you realize if you were just straight company at Prime? I know Kiersey almost had to turn her truck in for taking off X amount of days. I'm like, you know what? You might be very lucky that you're with me, because Prime might have forced your hand on some of this stuff. But I know if Senator Army, are you talking about Benzino, the wackadoo from Boston? Or are you talking to somebody else? So yeah, I mean, I wish I could be like, you know what? And it's not anybody's fault. It's just something that you notice. It's like, hey, I just ran over a nail. I got to get a new tire. And it's just so nonchalant. You know what I mean? So yeah, there's a bunch of different reasons to go company. Zishan Hader's father is also an American trucker from Pakistan. You know, a lot of truck drivers from places that are from harsher backgrounds than American truck drivers, a lot of people hate on them, but I'm looking at some of these guys like, man, you guys are putting in a lot more work than I would, because I looked at that guy yesterday in all that heat with no air conditioning and pouring water on his head in the truck, and I'm like, I couldn't do it. So a lot of this comes from perspective. Leah says she doesn't mind chasing miles. You know what? That's one thing, but also one thing that you never really quite think about when you're, well, I never thought about it when I was just a lease driver, or even as a company driver, is, and it's different. I know you don't have multiple trucks, but when a driver of mine says, I'm gonna take off a few days, They're not actually losing money. I'm calculating up the loss of the fucking money. So when, I have a driver, had to go to a funeral, all that kind of stuff, I'm like, if you're talking about 4 or 5 days, you're talking about $1,000 just in lost, like, money that you're actually fucking losing that money. It's not like, so it's just a different way to think about it. And you could say as a lease driver, I got an emergency fund and all that kind of stuff, but it's still a net loss, whatever you take that time off. I just never really thought about it until I was like actually having to calculate other people's time off and how that was affecting me. All right, let's go. Yeah, Kirsty, I thought that it was a little bit quicker than that, but either way, there's been a period. There was a period of time, maybe about a month ago, when I almost felt like my fleet manager was like a travel agent. And it was like, this driver needs to go here to do this, and this driver needs to go here and do that, and this one needs to do that. And it's just like, can I just get 3 trucks running with no, like full throttle? I don't need to be here. I don't got to do this. I don't got to do that. And, I'm pretty sure Prime Straight Company ain't going to be like, you could take 5 days off here, then 3 weeks later, okay, you gotta do this, and then a month later, it was just, them days were just stacking up too much. They just stack up too much, and I try to eat it as much as I can, but sometimes that shit gets a little frustrating. Yeah, that's another thing, Kiersey. Roll into the shop and get hotels. Now on a mini fleet, I have to think about them getting paid. Well, all right. So as far as the hotels and stuff like that go, I had a driver that was down last year in Laredo, Texas, and I don't know how this became an issue, but I had a driver that was down in Laredo, Texas for almost 2 weeks, and paid like 60 cents a mile. Like, when that truck was down, I paid that driver 60 cents a mile for 2,500 miles a week for the time that the truck wasn't running, plus the hotel room. And I'm like, I wish that was me just chilling, making money. But that's another thing. And the reason I'm driving my oldest truck isn't because I want to drive my oldest truck. I'm driving my oldest truck, which may be the most reliable truck. I don't know. The reason I'm driving my oldest truck is because if the theory is this is going to be the truck that has the most problems, I want to be the one sitting in the hotel room, rather than somebody else sitting in a hotel room getting paid. So that's the reason I'm in this truck right here. Okay, BRB Trucking, I'm in medical leave currently. When I do come back, I'm definitely going company tanker. I know a lot of people on tanker. They run mainly that Missouri area, but they seem to be getting home all the time. Zishan, I must be missing a comment somewhere. Somebody owns 17 trucks. He's in trucking since 2016. I wouldn't even want to do that. Finishing up with 34 in Jasper, Alabama. Extra time before appointment at 90, so might as well reset the clocks. Jasper, Alabama. Is that the Loves right before you get into Birmingham? That is one of my favorite, if that's where I'm talking about, that is one of my favorite stretches of highway. 7822 between Memphis, Tennessee, down to Birmingham, Alabama. There's like a ton of mom and pop off-brand truck stops I love to stop at along that route. Somebody threw in some Arabic. I can't read that. I'm sorry about that. Kiersey's offering some help to somebody. Chops asked me what's up. Just chilling. Honestly, it's very similar pay if you figure everything in, but I'm happy doing what I'm doing now. Lee is saying in regards to leasing, you know what? My intention when I first came to Prime was to go company because it's never been about no big paycheck or anything like that. I just think there's a ton of different things that people don't take in consideration when they go lease. And me, I'm a different story. I think a lot of people may be a different story, but I think what happens at Prime or any trucking company, you have a lot of accidental business owners out there. So if you're going to ask me that if I think a 21-year-old or 22-year-old is mentally capable of understanding that I ran over some shit in a terminal, a nail in a terminal, and now I got to pay $1,000 for a tire, if they can wrap their head around that. Or I just got this brand new truck from Freightliner, it broke down, I got to pay a hotel bill, that's a lot. And I think, first of all, I think that there's a different mindset from a real business owner. I think trucking has a lot of accidental business owners that aren't necessarily prepared for this the same way, especially when you throw the age in. So, I think it's great for Prime. I think, you know what, they're able to offset a bunch of costs that they normally wouldn't, but a lot of people, I was talking to my boy Crespo. He left Prime, went to Walmart. We were having a conversation, and I was like, hey, you got your 401k set up? No, I haven't done that yet. I was like, bro, you need to set that 401k up as soon as possible. Set it up to the max, do all this shit. Anything they allow you to do as far as invest the money, you got to do it. And he's like, okay, I'm going to do it. And then he finally calls me. He's like, yeah, I did everything you were talking about. The fact that he did it isn't the point. The fact that he maybe wasn't thinking about it, or that a lot of people don't think about it until, a lot of people aren't going to think about that. So I think you have a lot of people that it's easier for it to be automatic company-wide, I guess is what I'm saying. All right, let me catch up. Was that you, Bobtail, and only at Love's? No, I had a driver. Actually, I had two drivers out that way. I think that was my man Jan that's been with me the longest. But I had two trucks that were out in that area recently. So it's not always the same truck. Fart inhaler slam poetry. What's up? I'm just out here hanging out at the Sheets up here in Ohio. Melinda Lincoln, you may not hear this often, but I definitely want to say thank you for driving. We get everything daily because of your efforts. Melinda, I certainly do appreciate that. And if it wasn't for every other driver in the world patting themselves on the back for it, I would really, really appreciate it. But that's one thing truck drivers do. They will tell everybody how important they are. But it is good to hear it from somebody on the outside. Thank you, Melinda. It's much appreciated. Company can go home every 3 weeks for 4 days. Some on regional get home every weekend. Hey, company driving, nothing wrong with that. Trust me. All right, they are definitely expensive to fix. Melinda, within the last week, and we're not even talking about major repairs, within the last week, I spent probably $5,500 on truck repairs. So, and we're just talking tires. We're not even talking about anything serious. Lee is saying it's hard to find good workers, always, in the industry. All right, trucking along with Kiersey says, my truck isn't old. It can rack up 1,000,000 miles if I take care of it. Kiersey, that was not my plan. And I understand you always have to change plans or, kind of reorient yourself. My plan was this, and I've mentioned it before. My plan was not to have a fleet of trucks. I got the last truck, like I keep mentioning, false pretenses, some shit that I shouldn't have done. But let's just say it is what it is. My thing is, I'm 55 years old. What I was wanting to do was go into retirement, paying off a truck and selling a truck 6 months after it was paid off, and throwing that money in the bank. That was the plan. Now, the truck market is so soft, it doesn't make sense to do that. So that's why I'm running this truck. I never wanted to run all this old stuff. So it was always to get off of it. So I'm kind of having to adjust my thinking on, how I plan on doing this. But that kind of is what it is. It's just not that big, All right, I'm a trainer, so it will be interesting conversation to see how it's going to work. The goal is 4K miles. As soon as somebody mentions training, I get tired. That is one thing I keep remembering about training, is how tired I was. And not to get on Prime, but when I came through training, it seemed like the trainers got the benefit of the doubt. And now it seems like the trainees get the benefit of the doubt. Like, it was nothing back in the day to be hearing, like, I just dropped my student off, and when I was going through the shit with my trainer, he was out there talking all ridiculous. Not that I worried about it. And now it's just like, it just seems like it's kind of flipped a little bit. But I've been lucky. I've had the runners for trainees. Listen, I put in that work up front, spun them up right quick, and we were like out doing, my trainees were 10.5-hour drivers. That was it. You drive your full clock. I'll set my alarm for whatever time, and then we'll switch, and we keep going. And when we get where we're getting, then we can relax. And that I never had an issue with any of my students or whatever. And if I had to pay them a little more money for whatever because of the new pay plan, then that would have been it. But they worked for everything they got. Trust me on that. Okay, Greenwich says he thinks going company for the first year or two is a great idea. If you really think about it, Greenwich, though, trucking is trucking. It's not. I don't think you learn any more well, to me, trucking is just like simple. So I don't really break it down into company or lease. Now, if I was, I don't really break it down like that because there's really not that much to learn. To me, trucking is so simple. If a lot of people break it down to, like, you have to be a good business owner to, be a lease guy. Like, he has no business sense. That's such a small thing. Run your fucking ass off and make fucking money. It's that simple. None of this, I'm going to ration my hours so I never run out of a clock. That's bullshit. A load takes as long as a load's going to take. You run out of hours, or you get close to running out of hours, you know what? Your fleet manager puts you on a shorter load to cover the gap. All this, like, I'm going to do the easiest shit. Every time I hear somebody say that shit, I just run 8.5 hours. I'm like, okay, I already know right now. Nope. No trip plan is going to beat me by running my fucking ass off. None of this, I'm going to stop here and I'm going to take no. You fucking drive as far as you can, and then you find the closest place to shut down. You take 10 hours and 2 minutes off. You drive, and you do all the way till you get to your 90 or close to it. Then you relax. That don't take no business skills. That takes like running your fucking ass off. So I think there's a lot of people that try to make this more complicated than it is. This is just, well, okay, maybe understanding your clock, but that's not necessarily, the clock is one thing. A lot of people can't fundamentally understand a clock. So I can understand that. But when people start talking about business, no, I don't. This isn't really business. This is just business light. Anyway, let me get off that. Okay, truck along with Kiersey, speak the truth with their bad credit. I don't know what this conversation is about. I think Kiersey's talking about credit. I don't know if they're talking about buying trucks. The reason I didn't, this is one thing that I give Prime as far as their lease and stuff goes, is I don't have to touch none of my personal credit with Prime. So when it comes to buying trucks and all this kind of stuff, none of that stuff's in my credit. And if it ever comes time to make a move or do whatever, you're not being hamstrung by the fact that something's going to hit your credit or anything like that. I specifically spoke about that like years ago before I even got into lease purchase trucks. That is the main benefit of a lease purchase at Prime. And a lot of people complain about the payments. The payments are the best thing. Paying it off in 3 years, that's the thing. A high payment, not being able to make as much money per week. Like Swift's lease, you hear people talking about that. That is like a trash lease right there. By the time you pay that truck off, it's going to have like 800,000 miles on it. Anyway, enough about that. Freight Shaker, how do you feel about riding in the center lane? I try to ride through the center lane anytime I'm going through a busy city. Definitely if I'm going through that stretch in Chicago area, like Gary, Indiana, all that stuff. But, and at the moment, I will go with the flow of traffic. All right, are you good drivers who want to run hard for a mini fleet? My original goal is to get 3 or 4 trucks. All right, are good drivers who want to run hard to find? All right, it's hard to find drivers for a mini fleet, period. And the worst thing that you don't want is the wrong driver. I've heard every horror story you could think about. People just dropping off trucks somewhere. There's a lot of liability that you don't understand with that. A lot of stuff that you really don't think about costs you money. And I'm not going to go into every single one of them. But there could be times when, let's even say this. Let's even say that you have a driver that's trying to be respectable. And they say, hey, Lyle, I don't even want to talk about one of them. But let's even say that you have a driver that's like, hey, Lyle, let's even say I'm getting out of trucking or I'm retiring, whatever. And they're like, well, the closest terminal to my place is Pittston. Can I drop it off there? Now you're not, now that little move right there costs you a bunch of money because now you got to go to Pittston and go pick up that truck, or you got to do whatever. When that could have been avoided, but a lot of people don't think about, they don't think like, hey, you know what? Let me tell this person that I'm about to leave, and They can come up with solutions that might be better for both of us. You know, situations like that, it's not necessarily finding a good driver. Sometimes the worst drivers, or drivers that aren't the best drivers, are going to be your most loyal drivers. I've had multiple drivers do shit where they had to get towed. No matter how good, you know, you run or whatever, I've had situations where that's happened. And I think in one case a driver paid for it or something like that, but didn't necessarily have to. But you're just always concerned. There's always shit that can come back on you, and it's not always the shit you'd expect. It's the little shit. You could have a good driver that's just like, a lot of the stuff is going to cost you money. It has nothing to do with if a driver is good or bad, if that makes sense. It could be family issues, it could be whatever, and you want to support and all that kind of stuff, but that support costs a lot of money. I don't know if that makes sense or not. All right, let me scroll down a little bit. One problems everyone's coming on. Christopher, you talking about? Okay, I'm switching to AC. Are you talking about Ace Lease or Lease Purchase, or are you talking about A Fleet? I don't know. Clarify that for me. Okay, Power. Okay. Are you talking about Prime's Ace Fleet Power only? I've know a couple people there, and they didn't necessarily feel like that was the best move. As a matter of fact, I had a couple trucks that had the repowered trucks that were on Ace Fleets, and I don't know if they're getting loads that are like planned tighter or what, but I don't know. Leah, I'm gonna tell you a few situations where CB saved me, and I know one of my drivers might be watching that, and for some reason his old CB doesn't fit in the new truck he got into, but I'm gonna tell you 3 times a CB saved me. Once when I was in my first truck before I got these lease purchase trucks, I was coming down in Pennsylvania. There was a curve. Coming around that curve, there was an accident, and everybody was talking on the CB about this accident that was around the curve. Had I not hit those brakes, I'm not saying I would have ran into them, but it would have been a whole lot tighter. There was a time that I had through a tread in Wyoming. I was on my, actually, I didn't have a CB at this time. I was on my trainer's truck. I threw a tread in Wyoming, and it took like a car to come up next to me, pointing to the back of my or back of our truck to let us know that we didn't have any tread on that tire. That's 2. There was another time that I had a student, actually it wasn't a student, it was my first co-driver. We had dropped off a load in New Berlin, New York at Chobani or whatever it was. He went back there to do a inspection, make sure everything was good. Went back there, cleaned out the trailer real quick, and we're driving down the road. He did not shut the trailer door all the way, and a driver on a CB alerted us to that door being open. There was another time that I was in Indiana or Ohio. My trailer lights were flickering. One thing to do with that, I'll get into that in a second. Trailer lights were flickering, and he gets on the CB, tells me, "Hey man, your lights are flickering." I pull over. I wasn't getting a good connection on my electrical line. Put a little bit of tape around that, shoved it in so it wasn't wiggling up and down. That solved that problem. There's another time that I left, actually northeast, or not northeast, yeah, northeast Pennsylvania, whatever that is out there, that Welch's load that picks up out of there. I made a hard right, which is never anything you should do. Learn from me. It was when I first got into the truck and made a hard right. Did jack up the electrical pin on my truck, and I'm driving, and since my electrical line was messed up, I didn't have any lights, so I'm driving. It's starting to get dark outside. I have somebody saying, hey man, you ain't got lights in your truck. So there's definitely a need for CB. Now you may not, I got to deal with a bunch of bullshit, but hey, I'm out there fucking with people too. I will get on that CB and talk shit, just so you know, or else I'll be out there having fun. You gotta watch out there now. You know, so anyway, yeah, I would feel uncomfortable without a CB. It's been so important. Okay. If I'm passing you right on the right, I'm sorry, but I'm looking at you like you don't belong. Hey, I understand. If I'm in the middle lane, though, I'd rather deal with you looking at me crazy than dealing with all that merging. Do you always drive in Ohio or all other places also? I drive everywhere. To be honest with you, I've been up in the Northeast mainly lately, so I'm glad to get out. Well, Northeast, then down south to Atlanta. And all that, so I'm glad to get out of that. Okay, Kiersey said she's 40% company back in 2015. Now it's down to like 6%, so they aren't enough company drivers to run the mini fleets. Sad some trucks have sat empty. Kiersey, if it came down to that, I know there have been some things that have happened, some changes coming to Prime where they aren't necessarily all that popular, and I've kind of been notified that people aren't going to be happy with that. I would not have a problem. I'll have 2 trucks paid off here in December. One in, within 11 months of that, I would not have a problem taking 2 trucks, selling them and paying off the 3rd one and giving back the 4th one, or just keep giving back the 2. I'm not going through the whole searching for other people's shit. If people leave, then I'll just start consolidating down. So mine won't be sitting empty. They'll just be going back. And if I have 2 trucks paid off, that's enough for me. And yeah, this has become a little bit more of a long-term play than it should have been in terms of retirement. You know, I'm trying to get out. I was trying to get in and get out, and this is becoming a little bit longer than I wanted in terms of the end goal. But yeah, December is when I'm gonna have to make up my, really see what's going on, like see who actually is on board to stay, and what that stuff is. And in December, whether everybody stays or it's just me, December I'm gonna be fine no matter how you slice that cheese. What's up, Michael? Real reasons. Yeah, dudes out here acting like they're Jeff Bezos. Yeah, I agree with that. Well, okay, Christopher's talking about somebody asking a supervisor something. I'm nobody's supervisor here on Live, but maybe there's some stuff that went over my head. Now, as far as the prime lease purchase, listen, let me equivocally say this. There is no lease purchase out there better than the prime lease purchase. You can clip that shit, put it in a TikTok, send that to everybody out there that wants to get on me. There is no lease purchase in the trucking industry better than Prime. Swift, not even close. Hirschbach, not even close. These off-brand, one-off companies, not even close. Prime has the best lease purchase, period. 3 years paid off with a $100 balloon. It's not even comparable. If anybody says that, they can shut up. Now, that doesn't mean that, I'm not saying the Prime is the best company. What I'm saying is that lease purchase is not to be fucked with. It's not even close. Gotta have a waiver. All right, I need to catch up on these comments. How are you? What's up? Swift does have a low board, and that MRP lease is attracting drive. That lease is shit. Okay, I'm just gonna tell you right now. Now, I'm not saying there's not a reason to go to Swift. Swift has a terminal right in Colorado. If they got a load board and you could pick loads and just be a little more casual about your driving experience, that's one thing. One thing I will tell you about Prime is, okay, you hear people say, I don't like drivers having old trucks and all this kind of stuff. What that really alerted me to was, when you're a sales manager, what do you want your salespeople to be? In debt. Why? To motivate them. So it wouldn't surprise me that Robert Lowe or anybody would say, I don't like drivers driving old trucks. Why? Because I want them to have a goal to chase. Now, if I had a truck paid off and I was somewhere and I could just drive 5 months out of the year, 6 months out of the year, how's that helping him? So, what's the easy way to get rid of that? Can't keep trucks around a while. But if somebody could go to Swift and drive and, not have to worry about people is this past 30 days or 59 days or whatever it is, and, all this kind of stuff, there's a benefit to that. And I'll be honest with you, if I did, people that live in Texas, there are people at Swift that don't even leave Texas or a bunch of different places. So Swift has this place out there. So I'd never hate on Swift. Okay, Leah says apparently Swift doesn't have inward-facing cameras on leased trucks. There's another reason why you might want to go to Swift. 50-something, what's up? Let me just say this again. Apparently Swift doesn't have inward-facing cameras on leased trucks. And I don't even want to get into this shit. I do not want to talk about that right now. So I'm not going to talk about that shit right now. All right. So I don't know what Swift's pay plan is or anything like that. I don't know if it's sliding, mileage, percentage. None of that matters. Because I'm not at Swift. I'm not thinking about going to Swift. You look high. Well, I've never smoked anything. Or I've got high one time in my life. And that was 35 years old. So I wasn't even 35. So I was 34, 35 years old when I got high. Okay, meeting said this morning that starting fleet is a moneymaker. You know what? It's a money loser too, trust me. All right, Kiersey, you have a good one. Okay, I'm worried about me saying something stupid once the cameras come in the trucks and that I stick my foot in my mouth. I hope it can't be used against me. You know what? I don't even think it has anything to do with. I don't even want to talk. I'm not even going to talk. I'm not even going to talk about this shit because this topic right here is a topic that probably can put me on a radar. And the last thing I need to do is get on anybody's radar. So I'm not even going to talk about that shit. Oh, shit. shit. Anyway, Colton Babs, what's up, man? I'm just going through my meltdown last 20 hours before the practical. All right. BRB Trucking, if I hit the SOS button in emergency, I want the camera to come on. I'll tell you this right now. And this is one thing I will say about this shit. Is when I'm riding, I be riding like I might have an arm on the armrest, a hand on the steering wheel. I just feel like if I'm out here driving like some fucking 40-year-old nerd, you know, like this, I ain't gonna be able to grind them miles out. Why? Because I'm gonna be like, I'm not even gonna talk about this shit. I don't want to talk about it. This pisses me off on this much to where I don't even want to do it. And you have a lot of people out there trying to defend this shit. I'm not gonna defend it, or I don't even want to like put it down. Oh God, I can't talk about this shit. I know a lot of people were out there saying they were going to be the first one out there in Bay 21, but I haven't seen none of them motherfuckers in Bay 21. Anyway, I'm done. Let me stop talking. All right. Woo! That's the last thing I want to talk about. Do that stroking motion again. You good at that? Why are you always hating on solar power drivers? You know what? I'm not hating on solar power drivers. What I do hate on is when I'm trying to come in at 6 o'clock in the morning when it's still dark outside, and it seems like people are like actually afraid to leave the truck stop until it's like light outside. It's like, can you leave a brother a spot? And I don't know. I just talk about as much smack about the solar power drivers as people talk about the fact that I'm not being out there trying to chain up on the side of the highway. So I guess we're both bitches in some way or another. All right, let me try to catch up on this. Hey, man, I haven't always been a dude to not paying speeding tickets. Do you think I have a chance of getting my CDL? Hey, I don't know anything about that, Squid. Lenny, what's up? Leaving Cali with strawberries headed eastbound. Hopefully my load is swift. I'll be at the terminal. I'm pretty sure you will be too. Just joking. All right. Justin says I should try it more often. It helps with anxiety. You know, I'm pretty sure it probably would, but it's never been my thing. When I did that, I just felt like I was stuck to the couch. Like I there was no use I was getting out of that. Like, I think I told that story before, but I used to have a friend. He used to like be a pretty bigger drug time deal or big time drug dealer before he met me. And he used to, you know, he'd stopped selling drugs like years before we met, but he always had the good shit. And I used to go over to his house every Sunday, and he's like, you want to smoke or you want some? And this happened for like 9 years. I never did it. And he used to ask me every single time for 9 years. And I went to his house every Sunday night to watch Sopranos, and before it was Sopranos, it was like some other shit, and after Sopranos, it was like The Wire. But every fucking Sunday for 9 years, he'd ask me this shit, and I'd say no. And one day I said yeah, and I did it, and I felt like I was stuck to the couch, and he was asking me questions and coming to look at some stuff, and I felt like I couldn't even get up out of the couch. And he's like, anyway, I can't do it. It is time for a haircut. As a matter of fact, Romaine the trucker, if you ever watch him, he needs to get a pick like me. I just got this free pick from the sheets out here. Good quality. It's hard to find good quality. You know, they actually are thicker like this. All right. Yeah, I do need a haircut. Let me catch up on these comments. Southbound, I don't think there's any way to change the way miles are paid, at least in our lifetime. Jan the man, my first day with the CB saved me 3 hours delay. So yeah, definitely about the CB. Leah says breathe. Okay, let's talk about the buttered sausage, where it comes from, and where. I don't know about that. Maybe I'm missing something. Magnum Opus Transport. I thought the whole tangent that FM went on about starting a mini fleet was weird as hell. I haven't. I've been engaged in these meetings a little bit less lately. Time to go home, have a few drinks. Lenny, one of my boys, Jesse, sent me a bottle of Still Austin bourbon from Austin, Texas. That's been sitting in my house for I don't know how long. I need to get back to that. But a new situation is you don't go home when you can go, or when you want to go home. You go home when you can go home. So that's kind of my thoughts on that right now. It's not like I haven't wanted to go home. It's just I haven't been able to go home. All right, we need some cooking on the truck videos. You know what? I would cook on the truck, but I cannot stand a truck smelling like fucking sausage and chicken and shit where my clothes and shit are. Our truck driver drops our equipment on the side of the road. Don't know what's up about that. What's up, King Afro? Hey, I'm picking out this Afro right now, as a matter of fact. Once it gets beyond my ears, that's definitely way too long. Pulled out of my spot this morning, 0-100. Another prime driver got in. Always makes me happy when that happens. Hey, that's good stuff right there. I'm just happy when anybody gets in a spot when I leave. And you know, it really pisses me off because I am the type of person that says there is always a spot. I think people will give up before they even get to the truck stop. There'll be people that are parked on an on-ramp before a truck stop, so you don't know if that truck stop has a spot or not. And every time at night I go through a truck stop, I will always drive through the parking lot just to reaffirm my belief that there's always a spot. And you know what? For the most part, there's always a spot. I think a lot of people give up on that. We load it up to chain it up. I'm not about them chains, whether it be flatbed or snow tire chains. Squid, you ain't never had a ticket. I've had tickets in, before I got into trucking, but not trucking. What's up, bro? Down the lot from your Cheats. Where you at? Which truck? I saw the only Prime trailer I saw up here, unless you're not with Prime. I saw a Wilson Logistic truck down here at the Sheets. Is that you down there? Andrea's deleting motherfuckers, so they must be getting crazy. All right, Achilles. Yeah, I saw you when I pulled in. This is the nice Sheets right here. Now, I was thinking about driving a little bit further down, closer to you. If you look to your left, you're going to see a blue Volvo down there. I was going to park down there because I think when I leave in the morning, there's going to be trucks stacked up in front of me. And sometimes it's hard to get out of this place in the morning. But I don't necessarily have to leave when I leave in the morning. So I'll just sit here. Do I like rats? 50-something. Some are afraid to back into spots. This place is not backing into spots. These are all straight backs here. But this place will get so packed that if I turn this around, see this right here? That's a ton of room. That's a straight back, right? But at night, you'll have about 4 trucks parked up against that curb facing me. And sometimes at this place, they'll be so stacked up, it's really hard to kind of pull out and make that left. And there'll be like a bunch of them out there. So I was thinking about it, thinking about moving, but I'm not that worried about it. Wolfman82, Andrea's ruthless. I wish I would have known what somebody had said. So anyway, that's all right. What's the deal with Prime going slower than 65 on the highway? I've been going slower than 65 on the highway lately. If I was in any of my 3 newer trucks, it's not that big of a deal. All those new Peterbilts, 65 miles an hour or whatever Prime has them governed at, they're all like 9.5, 10.5 miles a gallon. This old Peterbilt here, not the same thing. So I've been taking such a beating that I was like, let me slow this shit down a little bit, at least on this truck. So, I don't do it in crowds, but last night I was driving the only truck on the highway and I was doing like 59. But if I get out there in a pack, especially like through Chicago, whatever, I'm going to be getting in the mix. So, that's, but a lot of it's just, fuel economy is why people are doing it. Peterbilts, lately, I don't see there being that much of a difference between 60 and 65 on the newer ones. Got a job at a local roofing company. Now that's some work right there. Picks cost less than the metal. Man, I got this free. I didn't even get a meal. I got a salad or something, but you can get these free at any truck stop or wherever. As a matter of fact, hold on a second. And my hair is not supposed to be this long. Let's just keep that straight. Anybody, if my wife's on here, she'll be the first one to tell you it shouldn't be that long. Man, look at all these picks I got right here. I could pick my hair for a year with all this shit. And this is really just a joke. I don't, shouldn't be this damn long. How many miles on this old Pete? Shoot, let me see. Haven't really thought about it. $475. I do agree, and you know what? If it was up to me, I would turn these trucks up to 70, whatever, and I wouldn't necessarily drive 70, but there's times when, to avoid being a dickhead, I might go a little bit faster. Nothing. Sometimes we are the accidental dickheads. We can't help each other. We can't help it. So anyway, that's kind of it. All right, am I okay? I'm as about okay as I can be. This has been a bit of a struggle lately, to be honest with you. I'm on day 4, seeing if Mr. Safety wants to come on the road with me for a week. He hasn't taken me up. Listen, I encourage anybody at Prime that's in-house to bring, let me say this, I would, anybody in-house at Prime that wants to come out over the road, I would be more than happy to chauffeur them out here and see what it's really like. You know, I would take that one for the team. I think that they don't appreciate what they have and underappreciate what we go through out here. So I'd be more than happy as well to take somebody out on the road. Romaine the Trucker, hey, this is what you need. Romaine the Trucker, go check him out. Just type in Romaine, Romane, the Trucker Prime. That's going to bring up his channel. First of all, we kind of have similar issues. I needed lotion. He needed chapstick. But he definitely needs to comb that damn hair. They got all these free picks at almost everywhere you go. You need to run this through your hair. That shit is looking like wild. All right, so come right here. Run it through there real quick. I know I'm joking around with my man Romaine, but him right there, it's good to see somebody enthusiastic about driving trucks that hasn't been beat down by any company policy or any shit that's going on in trucking right now. It's very good to see that. So go check him out. He's about the happiest person that's driving a truck. Goddamn. He's about the happiest person to be driving a truck on the road right now. So, all right. Tyrese Singleton, my company cut my gas card off for fraud and gave me a temporary number to use a pilot app. The pilot app that barely works. You know what? I've had to check my card a lot lately too. I went to Atlanta Petro, right? Go there and try to use my phone app. It's not allowing me to do it. So I'm hearing this like beeping noise, but I don't really think anything about it. Slide my card in, slide in my rewards card, and get the fuel and everything. And I still hear this beeping, and I look at the fuel pump, and it says, if somebody's tried to enter this like fuel pump illegally or whatever, or gain access, you know, alarm will sound and everything. So I'm like, okay, great. Maybe I got. So I've been trying to keep an eye on that. Now, I don't know if this is strong enough for Romaine the Trucker. Because them Jamaican people, boy, them naps are a little bit more rugged than your normal hairdo like mine. So you might actually need to go get like a metal, pick with the fist on it and go through yours. But for me, this is good to go. I'm supposed to be bald, Tyree. The problem is circumstances have kept me out on the road longer than I'd like to be. All right, so anyway, those of you guys just came in. The reason for this video, the title of the video was I got embarrassed backing or something like that, was I went to this Kroger or King Soopers in Blue Ash, Ohio. So let's just say basically Cincinnati, Ohio. Before I got there, I read the reviews. It was like talking about how tight the docks were and all this kind of stuff. And they weren't talking about tight as in there's not enough room up front and all. They're just narrow. So a guide left a comment, said, hey, these docks are tight. I'd suggest you slide your tandems to the rear so you don't have to worry about overswing. Got it. Got there this morning, checked in, parked in the staging area. Slid my tandems to about the 11th hole. They give me a door, go pull into the door. Smooth as a motherfucker. One shot, I could have just went straight back and got in the dock with no issues whatsoever. Like no pulling up, no like nothing. So I get back there and I'm like, okay, let me open the doors. I pull forward and there's not enough room out front for me to open up my doors. So now I'm like, okay, I got to pull back out to the left, open up the doors, and then back in. Well, doing all that shit, it messed up my setup. I couldn't get back in the same way I did. It took me like 3 times to get in the hole. In my mind, I don't know if this was true, I felt like everybody in the world was watching me go through this shit. And I'm just sitting here. It took me about 3 times. And I'm like, hopefully these people saw me get in here the first time before they saw me struggling with this, because this was pure rookie mode right here. It was embarrassing. All right, enough about that. Atlanta Petro. You know what? Sometimes you got to go to the Atlanta Petro. I was at a place that was 9 miles away. Closest place I could have parked to that was not going to allow me. I couldn't be there more than an hour early. So the predictability, the Petro was the move. And you know what? The Atlanta Petro has the best fuel island food of any of them places out there. I have a backup camera on my semi. That wouldn't have helped. A backup camera in this situation wouldn't have really helped. Yeah, you got to keep an eye on these fuel cards, man. Tyree got. Tariq uses a dog flea comb, anything to get it done. Let me see these messages. If you ever go to all right, Tyree, I've never been there. The worst truck stop as far as parking, I know this isn't truck stop related, or, you know, your comment. Franklin, Ohio, I-75. If you ever, do not ever park there. You could get in safe. The person on either side of you may not be, and pulling out of there in the morning is like almost impossible. Trust me on that. Do not park in Franklin, Ohio. Trust me, do not do it. Park further out, do what you got to do, but do not park there. I can hit the same spot 100 times and struggle with it on a random day. This wouldn't have even been a hard spot, but you know when you throw off your setup, sometimes it's just best to just start over. I don't know anything about a single mom song. I've heard of people using a drone to back up. I think I've seen people do that. I'm not sure that it's that damn serious for me to get a drone out there to back up. Woo! Enough with the hair. Yeah, I don't get to Florida too much. I think I have stayed at that Wildwood TA. Okay, this video has to be exact, or has to be for me exactly, because this is exactly what's stopping me from pursuing trucking. I'm scared as hell to back up the turning. Listen, this back in a truck is probably, after a while, it just becomes second nature. You know, even if it takes you a while to get in a spot, sometimes your day, it's your day, and sometimes it's not. But for you to understand the actual concepts of okay, so learning how to back into a spot is very simple. You're gonna learn that pretty quick. Then once you learn the basics of getting in a spot, then there's a total thing of, okay, if I'm not getting in there how I want, how do I correct it? That's another thing that you learn over time. So it's just something that that's easy to gain over time. I wouldn't say that I actually look forward to like challenging backs, but I don't really, I never pull up to a place and really worry about it. I can pull up to a place and be like, this isn't going to be fun. Like, I was going to deliver in St. Louis, but that load got taken off of me. That did not look like a fun place to back into. But I knew I'm capable of it, and so will you. And anybody. I mean, this is not rocket science. This is driving a truck. This literally is the easiest shit you could possibly do for a job. And I said this a while back, and somebody said, well, how's it the easiest job when you said that one time you made this mistake and, you rolled and almost, you hit this car, which, like I said, I hit the car. I tapped the car. And there have been other times I did shit or whatever, but when I was working at Burger King, I also fucked up. There were several times I probably put cheese on some shit that was supposed to be no cheese. I know there was a time that I was supposed to be draining the fryer and actually didn't have the bucket down there, and I accidentally drained it on my foot. There was a time that, I probably gave somebody the wrong change. Just because you make a mistake at something doesn't mean it's not an easy job. And I will literally say that if somebody was to say what job is actually harder, tougher to do day in, day out, going and working at Burger King for 10 hours a day or 8 hours a day and standing on your feet doing all that, or coming out driving a truck, I would have to say going at Burger King is probably a harder job. Anyway, enough about that. Just because you make mistakes doesn't mean it's a hard job all of a sudden. Backing up a truck is so simple. Do not sweat it. Loves in Memphis is a good one. Hell no. That is my rule. I do not stop within 30 miles of a big city. Whether it's Memphis, there's too many good truck stops 40 miles out of Memphis, Nashville, Chicago. Atlanta's one that I got to struggle through. So is Ontario, just because you got to do what you got to do sometimes. But all these major cities, Denver, there's all these major cities that have excellent truck stops just 35, 40 miles out. I don't try to stay in bigger cities. Yeah. Backing is always an individual deal. Just, and you can tell, you can tell somebody that's a brand new backer that has no concept of backing, and you can tell somebody that's had a bad day. So if I'm at a truck stop and I see somebody that has no concept of backing, I'm going to watch for a little bit, then I might go out and help. But if I see somebody and they're struggling, but I know they understand the concept, like, okay, they know they're cutting in a little bit too far, so they're going to go out a little bit further and get on top of it sooner. You can tell, so you're not, you might let him work his way through that or whatever before you get out there and help, but you can tell somebody that has no concept on how to back. What is the city I've had most trouble driving through? It's not Atlanta. Oh, I cannot stand people that say Atlanta. And a lot of times it's people that live in Atlanta because they want Atlanta to seem like it's some big city. You know, like it's like cities I don't like driving through. My wife could tell you this right now. St. Louis. I hate St. Louis. It's not like that big. It's not even that big of a city. Sometimes you just get something in your head. St. Louis, Baltimore. You know, anything down in Southern California, you know, Oakland, San Francisco, but let's just say main cities people are going to talk about. Oh, Dallas. What am I thinking? Dallas. I cannot stand Dallas either. Dallas, Cincinnati. It depends. Some of the stuff is like time of year related, but some are just like cities I hate driving through. Dallas, I hate it anytime. Baltimore, hate it anytime. Some cities I kind of hate, but it depends on the time of the year, like Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Cleveland. Definitely don't like those in the wintertime. But Nashville used to be a hard one to drive through until you understand what lane you need to be in for where you're going, because you got to be moving in that city to get, you know, to the lane you need to get to. So that early on was not a very comfortable place to drive through. Obviously, any of that New York bullshit. Like, even if it's not busy, I can't stand any of that. New York, Boston, like anything along that line that's, you know. Anyway. But definitely, Atlanta is not. A lot of people say Atlanta. That's not. Making an error driving a semi can be a bigger F up. Yeah, I can understand that. Romaine the trucker, my backing is getting better. I feel like the world is watching me struggling. Hey, you can't skip the struggle. The struggle is what everything is about. And maybe if you know, comb out that hair a little bit, you'd have a few less eyes on you, boy, because that hair was, woo! He was out there looking nappy, like James Evans from Good Times and shit. All right, actually, his hair wasn't that nappy, but anyway. Stopping at a truck stop in the middle of Nashville and Atlanta is wild. I will never stop at any of those truck stops near Atlanta unless there's a reason to. There's too many good truck stops near Nashville. You got the Loves. I forget what the what that exit is. It's outside of Murfreesboro or wherever it is. But there's a Shell across the street I'll stay with. You got there's too many good truck stops to stop in the city. Atlanta's a different story because you got to account for drive time. So I will stop at that Petro in Atlanta. I hate Dallas. I hate it. St. Louis, I've always hated that. For the first year, every time I went through St. Louis, I was always missing the exit I needed to get off on. And I got in the accident in St. Louis where the car, you know, hit me. And I thought it was like going to be some training day shit. All right, let's see. I love Arkansas, driving through Arkansas. Actually, Arkansas is one of my favorite states to drive through. Chicago, there's another one. If I didn't mention that I cannot stand that either. Nashville does have some bad roads as far as potholes. Tyree giving some advice on going through Nashville. Atlanta, you got to go through at night. I never have problems going through there in the day. unless there's like an accident in Atlanta. Baton Rouge, I don't get down to Louisiana enough, but I do know they have some of that construction going on down there where they are fining trucks like big time for missing whatever that exit is down there. I just went through there, but not enough for me to really tell if it's what it's typically like. I will say I hated going into Nashville, or I had to deliver in New Orleans, Restaurant Depot, right? I don't know where was that in relation to true downtown, but that shit was not an easy place to get to. As a matter of fact, I may not take another load if I get one going there. But they got a couple good truck stops down there. I mean, there's one, if you don't mind paying, it's decent to go to. But then they got another one that's like right across the street from a Flying J or Pilot that's all packed up. You go across the street, there's nobody in there. Okay, southbound, you've been to that Restaurant Depot. It wouldn't be that bad, but they got like 3 or 4 docks in that place, and they got like 10 trucks trying to get in there. So all these trucks are like stacking up, and thank God I looked at the GPS before, or looked at the map before I got there. There are drivers driving down the like street with the houses like right behind the place. And then there's a left that you need to make. Luckily, I saw a note. Had I been a brand new driver, you're coming down off the highway, you got to make a left to go down to this Restaurant Depot. I could just tell I was not going to be able to make that left turn because it was a left turn that was kind of like a V. And I was like, okay, I got to hog up 2 of these lanes. And that's one thing new drivers are afraid to do. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. You got to hog up lanes. If I'm going through a roundabout, sometimes I'll just get in that middle lane, block everything out. And this left turn, I was not going to be able to do it unless I hogged up 2 lanes. So I got in the middle, kept everybody from like getting in there. Then when I made my turn, I made a wide right and came around and did that. But a new driver, I would have taken out that light pole, no question. The Cisco in New Orleans isn't bad. They let you overnight park. I didn't go to the Cisco, but I did go to, I think it was an Aldi in Baton Rouge or something like that. That was actually a good place. Nick's Barbecue, I haven't been there, but I've heard good things about that on I-40. See, my problem is I'm always running out my clock. I've never said, let me stop here and do this. And really, I've never stopped on a 30 and been like that. So there have been times when I was like, man, I'd like to stop there. So I actually may do it one of these days because I've heard good stuff about that. My man, Samson the 4.5, the 4'5" driver, put me up on that a while back. Just never been there. But yeah, that backing was embarrassing this morning. It was like, especially, when, my truck is somewhat noticeable. I mean, I have people sending me pictures of every truck I have on the road. I had somebody send me, running OTR. If you watch this channel, he sent me a picture of my truck the other day. I was, or just yesterday, asking if that was me in the truck. I always have people sending pictures of trucks that are like at terminals or on the road or whatever. So, when I have a hard time backing, it's not like a regular white Freightliner having a problem backing into a truck stop. So it can get a little embarrassing. And to be honest with you, that is one reason why I really started becoming better at backing a truck. Was once I had something a little more noticeable, you really start thinking about that shit a little bit more. So I will say that. Anyway, I don't want to drag this on. I've been feeling like I'm dragging this out like Thanksgiving turkey. So I wanted to just come on here. I was supposed to be doing a video about, I did a video on the cons of driving reefer. And my next standard video is supposed to be the pros of driving reefer. So I need to come up with that. But this is so much easier just to talk about some shit than to actually feel like you have to stay on a certain topic. But anyway, I'm about to let you guys go. I appreciate you guys stopping by. No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. As always, comment and subscribe. And I'm out.